Received a letter from UK Search Limited debt collectors or even had them knock on your door? There are few things that will rob you of sleep and push stress levels up like a debt collector chasing you for money. Today we'll tackle this by looking at 5 of the most important things you need to know when dealing with UK Search Limited, also known as UKSL. Just to be clear, I don't give financial or legal advice. I'm just making sure that you have access to the information that you need to make informed decisions. So, number 1, are UK Search Limited debt collectors legitimate? If you don't recognise the company name, it may be that they've purchased your debt or that they're a debt collector collecting on behalf of another company. I can confirm that UK Search Limited Debt Collectors is a UK registered company. Whilst there are a bunch of scams out there when it comes to debt collectors, I'm afraid that this is unlikely to be a scam. However, you should never pay unless you are certain that the debt is yours. You're well within your rights to ask UKSL to provide proof that the debt is yours. So what happens if you ignore UK Search Limited debt collectors? Well, your problem could escalate and become very serious. UK Search Limited does have the right to take court action against you. If you were to ignore court letters, then you could end up with a county court judgment, which could have a major impact on your credit score and your chances of borrowing money in the future. If you do get a CCJ and still don't pay, then this could ultimately result in bailiffs coming to your home to take your valuable items or even your car. There is a big difference between having a debt collector like UK Search Limited chasing you for debt and having bailiffs come to your home. I can't urge you enough that now is the time to take action on your debt while there are still options available to you. So please don't ignore UKSL, and we'll get to what you can do instead later in the video. So what are the rules that UK Search Limited debt collectors have to follow? Despite being legally appointed to collect your debt or outright owning your debt, there are several things that UKSL debt collectors cannot do when it comes to collecting debt. Knowing what UK Search Limited debt collectors can and can't do will make you feel a lot more comfortable and confident when dealing with them. They are not allowed to visit you at your place of work without you giving them specific permission to do so. Before this rule was put in place, some debt collectors would show up when you're working and try to make things awkward for you as a way of pressurising you into paying. On a similar note, they're not allowed to speak to neighbours, friends or family about your debt. Again, this is to stop them from trying to embarrass or shame you into paying your debt. UK Search Limited debt collectors can't contact or visit your home at unreasonable times of day. For phone calls, most people would agree that calls before 8 AM are too early and calls after 9 PM are too late. But your circumstances might be different, for example if you work on a night shift. If you can't take calls at certain times, then tell them. They should keep a record of this and avoid calling you at these times. By the way, for home visits, the regulations say that the debt collectors need to clearly explain the purpose and the intended outcome of a proposed visit and give you adequate notice of the date and the likely time of the visit. You are well within your rights to complain if they keep calling or keep visiting your home at times that you told them to avoid. Next, it's also good to know that they're not allowed to act in a threatening or an intimidating way. Also, they should never pressurise you into paying larger instalments than you can afford or hitting payment deadlines that are just impossible. The regulations say they're not allowed to pressurise you into selling your home or to take out more credit to pay back your debt. Also good to know, UK Search Limited debt collectors can't pretend to be bailiffs or enforcement agents. Unlike bailiffs, debt collectors can't force their way into your house or refuse to leave when you've asked them to. And they are certainly not allowed to take any of your belongings or to clamp your car. Okay, so how long can you be chased for debt? Well, under the UK's Limitation Act of 1980, a creditor has 6 years to chase most unsecured unpaid debt, or 12 years for some mortgage debts. This limitation period starts from the time of your last payment or when you last acknowledged the debt. Ultimately, debt collectors cannot enforce their debts through the courts after 6 years. But if you've already been taken to court and have a CCJ registered against you, then there's no end date for how long you can be chased. So how do I pay less and come to an agreement with UK Search Limited debt collectors? Well, there are a number of ways that you might be able to reduce the amount you pay. If UK Search Limited debt collectors are adding interest and charges to your debt, then you could ask to freeze them to help you get back on track and clear your debts quicker. Debt collectors are more likely to stop or reduce interest and charges if you can prove you're in financial difficulties. Maybe you could put together a budget that shows your income and your essential living costs so that you can clearly demonstrate your position. You could also use that same budget to negotiate a reduced payment. Again, for this, you'll need to show why you can't afford larger repayments, so make sure that you're clearly showing your income and essential living costs so that you can demonstrate what you can afford. Sometimes debt collectors will only agree to a reduced payment for a short period of time, and at the end of this period, then they'll want an update on your situation. Other times, they will agree to a much longer repayment time. It will depend on the nature of your debt and your individual circumstances. If you have the cash, you could make a final settlement offer. This is where you ask if they'll let you pay a lump sum instead of the full balance that you owe on the debt. In return for having a lump sum, some debt collectors will agree to write off the rest of the debt. These aren't the only options that are available in the UK, there's actually a bunch more. Some are free to use and others include fees, and each will have their own pros and cons. If you want to learn more about the debt solutions that I mentioned, or you want to find out about other solutions available in the UK, then we've created a really great form that I'd recommend you check out. Click the link in the description to get started and answer a few multiple choice questions, like the total amount of your debt, how many people you owe, and your living situation, and we'll connect you with one of our trusted partners so that you can find out more and start taking steps towards improving your financial situation.